Hi, welcome back to the YouTube studio here at the Munich Security Conference. I'm Victoria Reichelt, and with me today is Olga Stefanishyna. Stefanishyna.
Right.
Yeah. I managed. Sorry, it's on me. She's Ukraine's Deputy Prime Minister for European and Euro-Atlantic integration. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you so much, and it's okay. Nobody pronounces my surname from the first time.
But I practiced before.
Yeah. So
okay.
It happens as well.
It happens as well. You just told me that 2 years ago at this Munich Security Conference, your Prime Minister was here and just days after the war started. So for you, it must have been incredibly distressing 2 years. How did you experience this time so far?
Well, indeed, we have President Zelensky here first time after the full-scale war started, and what I can say is that we are nearly the same team. So we all been there 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, a bit less than 2 years ago, and but we are all different people. Mm-hmm. So we're all from different country, and many things has changed. So the real substance and the real discourse is taking place now in Munich. Munich is full of Ukrainian delegations, and Ukraine is on top of the agenda. So for us, basically, it's a huge new start of 2024, whereas Ukraine has been fighting the war, whereas we have making sure that we can shield the military support by signing the security guarantees. You know, President Zelensky signed the agreements with President Macron and Scholz yesterday, but also Munich Security Conference really brought back the agenda of the peace in Europe and the war in Ukraine on the top highlights, and it's felt everywhere. So it's across every discussion. There's no sideline discussions. It's clear that the war is in Europe and it should be won, and European Union should become stronger.
Yeah. You were appointed to your role in 2020, so before the war breakout, there has been, of course, a massive shift in attitude within the Euro-Atlantic world towards Ukraine's integration. And in December, the European Union opened accession negotiations with Ukraine. But Ukraine still has to carry out a bunch of reforms in order to meet the accession criteria. What do you think? Is this a case, time-wise, while being in a state of war? Is this a question for after the war?
Definitely not after the war. Even when Ukraine applied for the membership in European Union on the fourth day of the aggression on 28th of February, we knew that it's not only a political declaration. We knew that everything we can do as politicians while fighting the war in terms of reforming our country and preparing it for victory, we have to do it throughout the war. So I'm not an officer. I don't have a gun in my hands, but I have my knowledge. I have my authority. I have my political mandate, and I should use it as a weapon for transformation of my country. So it's very important that the EU has found the strength to reconfirm its commitment to Ukraine, to start the accession talks, and we are moving ahead with the new structural sectoral reforms, although we have been making sure that the bond of our independence, a part of territorial integrity and sovereignty, is strengthening the democratic bonds, strengthening the institutions, and that's what we do. That's what we're discussing today, and it's really important that everything you see as the miraculous Ukraine's capacity and resolve is the result of a job which has been done, which has been done to make the country survive, to build the institutions, to fight against corruption, to promote democratic values, and that's what we do, and that's what keeps us running.
Mm. Ukraine just recently signed security agreements with Germany and France, and then also last month with the UK. How important do you think these bilateral agreements are, and do you think they're also a model for Ukraine's future security arrangements? Or do you see joining NATO as the only way to guarantee security for Ukraine?
It is security assurances. It means sticking to the principles of reliability, continuity, and sustainable support. It means that whatever is happening on the front line, whatever is happening in other capitals across Atlantic or within Europe, those partners who have signed the agreements with Ukraine, they have committed to multi-year military support to Ukraine. And even though this agreement has not been ratified by domestic parliaments, but I guess the German Bundestag has reconfirmed its backup to this agreement by securing its German budget with the military support to Ukraine and multi-year approach. So it's really vital. It gives us the predictability, thus the ability to plan how do we run the country, but also to plan our maneuvers on the front line. Because basically we have now found ourselves in a situation captured in the American discourse on the financial support of the Congress, because basically we have shifted into the new reality, the reality of the uncertainty, when we have been having our partners shoulder to shoulder with the military support, working on interoperability and many other levels, who have enabled shielding our cities from air missile attacks. And now we do not know what's going to happen even in 2 weeks in terms of that. That's vital element of destabilization. So we hope that this will not be happening sooner, and those partners who stick to the arrangements which have been signed will stick to their commitments.
You just talked about it. Taking a look at the front line, we just heard the news that Ukrainian troops were withdrawing from Avdiivka. So it appears that on the battlefield right now, Ukraine is on the back foot. In your view, can Ukraine turn things around, and what does it really need in order to regain momentum?
My president has already addressed this issue in the morning. It's not just a withdrawing, so it's a warfare. So Ukrainian army is taking another area to secure the life force, and basically my answer would be very easy. So the whole world and the leaders and the nations know already a lot that Ukraine is capable of withstanding, that Ukraine is capable to defend itself, Ukraine is capable to fight back. Ukraine is basically, as Timothy Snyder says, a country fighting the world war. This is the world war which has been fought by one country, and we are able to withstand. So if Ukraine gets what it is needed to continue, the military support is vital, and it's vital to have it now. Whether it's long-range artillery, whether it's aviation, it's all still relevant. We will be able to withstand further. So, but I want to complete with a very, very simple message that maybe things are not as good as we wanted to see in terms of the military support. But there's one thing Ukraine knows for sure, that we will withstand. Ukraine will prevail because we have the persistence and the history which leads us to our independence. It's also very important, what would we remember afterwards when we prevail? Who was with us, who has been standing with us in a very hard time and in a dark time, and definitely Germany, France, and the United Kingdom have been those who haven't trusted their capacities to help us.
Mm-hmm. As you just said, a lot of people see it as like Ukraine fighting back for a lot of us, for the West, for a lot of countries that are currently not on the battlefield. Still, it feels like the general attention for the war is declining because we have other crises around the world. We have the war in Israel, Gaza. How do you feel about that?
This has been my particular concern when I was heading over to the Munich Security Conference, because it's about global security, it's about European security. It has a wide presence of different leaders from across the globe. But I think two major elements is that it is vital that everybody understands here that European security, transatlantic security are not possible without securing Europe, without securing Ukraine, helping Ukraine to win the war, but also restoring a more strong Europe. And that brings us to understanding that Ukraine is on top of the agenda. And I think that Munich has given this impulse to bringing back to the focus, which is vital for Europe itself, to survive and to save ourselves, because we are fighting on the front line, but everybody basically at war, because everybody wants to be survived and wants that like German or French or Polish or Lithuanian soldiers would not have to fight back Russia when it approaches its borders.
I think that's a good way of ending this interview. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for the strong message today here at Munich Security Conference, and thank you for tuning in again.